Time after time, you see these action thrill movies that are so hopeless and pointless that they should have been scraped before they even get released. That is also the case with this movie called Boy Kills World, which by description is an insanely bad action movie. Because what do you get when you make the characters even worse than in The Beekeeper? What do you get when you make the action scenes so bad you give a Bruce Willis B action movie a run for the money? What do you get when you make the voiceover even more tiresome than in The Killer? And what do you get when you make your action thriller movie more stylish than Bullet Train? Let me tell you, then you get this movie which surely must be the most hopeless action thriller movie in the century. Because like I said, this movie is hopeless from start to finish. But let me start with what it's all about. The concept is about this shaman that trains this boy to kill Hilda Vanderkoi, which is just some sort of evil futuristic leader of an empire in the future holding people down. It is not that the concept itself couldn't work, but even the scenes with the shaman, although they are somewhat cool, they are not that important as he already, after some odd 20 minutes of this movie, declares himself ready. Despite the shaman saying he is not, of course the twist is also kinda random, giving way to the random bad way the story in the movie is told, when it turns out that the main character is actually the son of the dictator-like ruler. The second critic for me against this movie is the relentless voiceover, and if you have seen the video I did on the Killer movie, you know my relationship with voiceover is the where fragile one, where I don't like it when it is overdone, for example in that mentioned movie and in Casino. Of course, it kind of makes sense in this movie as the main character is deaf and everything, and it gives meaning that we could get a sense of what he is thinking. But at the same time, this movie reels in a fantasy where it becomes too ridiculous. Because this girl in his head, she's there all the time, and it turns out by the end that she is like a fake memory put into his head. But anyways, the voiceover is just too much, and he speaks in a very childish voice, leading me on to the next point. Both the emotion and childishness seems to be a new type of way to make action thrillers these days and ruin them like a flash in the wind. Because if you drive it too much into emotion and childishness, just like this movie does, which is surely inspired by Bullet Train, where the humoristic moments feel so fake and unnatural like that make-believe goat, or that of course the men need to be weaker in the story compared to the women, which of course need to be super strong. In a way, it makes sense as a dictator is this in the story is a woman, but you get so tired of seeing these ultra strong women, like the one Famke Janssen plays or the one Michelle Dockery plays, which is all about talking shit to men and making them feel less worthy. And of course it passes on with nobody talking about toxic femininity, when we really could address that issue. Instead of we of course laugh about it as everything in the story is fictional. But for one, I'm tired of seeing these characters, mostly because they are so stiff, and it is all about looking tough, acting tough, and being tough. To rant on a little bit further about this movie, I've talked about some of the characters, but not really too much about the guy that helps this deaf main character, which may have been a cool character, but he acts just like Tom Hardy, the guy that is called Basso, played by Andrew Kochi, and although he may be a better character than the others, his act feels nothing other than unnatural. In a movie which more than most fuels in a fantasy world where nothing really feels realistic, although that may not be the point of this movie, but the way it is done, it basically bores you too much in order to be the most hopeless action thriller movie in a decade. If you also notice the dialogue between the characters, it also feels very stiff. And if some of those scenes felt childish and hopeless in Bullet Train, it is even worse here, as most of the story is between the deaf character and his sister, that wants to escape to this happy place, and that scene is played like over and over 5 times during this movie, which then again basically shows how thin the story is and how thin the movie is as a whole. If we go back to the mentioned action scenes in this movie, they are cut in a very messy way that makes the ones delivered in the Roadhouse movie seem double as good. And those are not that good either. But compared to the amateur way it is done here, it is just a piece of cake. Because it is so bad, it is highly laughable, but yet even tiresome that even the action scenes can't even entertain you in this one. Those scenes are so badly made that you can easily compare them to a Bruce Willis B action movie. Maybe this movie tries to do things different. Maybe this movie tries to be more creative. But it is so childish, so randomly done, not strange in the right way, no enticing story, insanely badly written characters, and like I said, the voiceover usage makes it so extremely boring and hard to get through. The concept itself of the shaman training this boy could either have been a breaking point of this movie, but instead it is all about this strange evil empire and how the main character has been trained to kill and repress his imagination, which basically is never repressed. It feels like a project that failed in the same way as Operation Fortune, where ideas run wild and it feels like it could have been cool, but everything is made so bad. Then I stand by my claim. It is really the most hopeless action thriller movie in a century, and I will give it a 3 out of 10.